Hello, you're watching Around the World live here on France 24. I'm Nadia Massih. Here's a look at what's coming up. Apocalyptic scenes in Los Angeles, wildfires tearing through homes, forcing tens of thousands of people to flee. Firefighters say their work is being made more difficult now by strong winds. Fears of waves of fake news spreading on Facebook as Mark Zuckerberg announces the end of third-party moderation on the platform. This in an apparent attempt to improve relations with Donald Trump. And we mark 1 month since the remarkable toppling of the Assad regime in Syria. Coming up, I'll speak to our reporter James Andre, who was in Damascus just hours after Bashar al-Assad fled the country. First, more than 30,000 people have now been forced to flee their homes in Los Angeles amid fast-moving wildfires. Hollywood celebrities are among those who've had to make a quick getaway as flames engulfed homes in some of the wealthiest parts of California. The fires have spread so rapidly that patients in at least one hospital were forced to be evacuated in their beds and wheelchairs. France 24's Delano D'Souza has this report. Now, flowers may be a beautiful gift, but European officials are increasingly concerned about the high levels of pesticides in some flowers originating from the Netherlands. Here in France, an 11-year-old girl, the daughter of a florist, died due to complications associated with ingesting pesticides. Research suggests as well that some flowers grown in the Netherlands do use pesticides that are banned by the European Union. It is an issue that our team in Amsterdam has been investigating, and they've sent us this focus report today. Fernand Van Tetz with that focus report for us there. And up next here on France 24, it's Talking Europe with Armand Georgian.
Hello and welcome back to Talking Europe. The Mexicoization of France. That's how French authorities described a recent shootout over drug trafficking. The shooting in a formerly peaceful corner of Western France degenerated into a massive fight between rival gangs involving hundreds of people. We're at a tipping point, the French Interior Minister responded. Let's wrap it up there and thank my guests Saskia Bricmont and Thomas Taubé. Glad you could join us for this discussion here on Talking Europe.
Thank you.
Hello, you're watching Around the World live here on France 24. I'm Nadia Massih. Here's a look at what's coming up. We mark 1 month since the remarkable toppling of the Assad regime in Syria. I'll speak to France 24's Wasim Nasser, who travelled from Aleppo to Damascus, Idlib and the Alawite heartlands of Latakia a week after Bashar al-Assad fled the country. Also coming up, the United States slaps sanctions on Sudan's paramilitary leader known as Hemeti as it concludes his rapid support forces have committed genocide in the country's civil war. And apocalyptic scenes in Los Angeles, wildfires tearing through homes, forcing tens of thousands of people to flee. Firefighters saying their work is being made more difficult now by strong winds. So today marks exactly a month since the remarkable collapse of the Assad regime in Syria. The toppling of Bashar al-Assad was something few analysts had predicted years after the dictator brutally crushed opposition forces during the long civil war. With Assad himself now in exile in Russia, the Islamist group that led the offensive against him, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, is in power in Damascus. France 24's Charlie James has this report for us on Syria 1 month without Assad. It's time then for a quick break here on the programme. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with more world news in a few minutes. Bye for now. Hello and welcome back. You're watching France 24. I'm Nadia Massih, live in Paris. A look at the headlines this half hour. Apocalyptic scenes in Los Angeles. Wildfires tear through homes, forcing tens of thousands to flee. Firefighters say their work is being made more difficult now by strong winds. Our reporter, Wasim Korne, is there. 1 month since the remarkable toppling of the Assad regime in Syria. Coming up, a look at what is happening now in the Kurdish region of the country and the challenges to Syria's territorial integrity. And the United States slaps sanctions on Sudan's paramilitary leader known as Hemeti as it concludes the Rapid Support Forces have committed genocide in the country's civil war. First, more than 30,000 people have been forced to flee their homes in Los Angeles amid fast-moving wildfires. Hollywood celebrities among those who've had to make a quick getaway as flames engulfed homes in some of the wealthiest parts of California. The fires have spread so rapidly that patients in at least one hospital were evacuated in their beds and wheelchairs. Delano D'Souza has this report. Well, it's time for us to take a break here in the newsroom. As I say, we're still waiting for that press conference by Antony Blinken. We'll go to it when it gets underway. In the meantime, though, here's this week's France in Focus, where Joe Cockerell and John Walsh head underground to explore the so-called Sistine Chapel of prehistory. It is sealed off from the public, but a lucky handful of researchers and our team do manage to go inside. Check it out.
Years ago, it rewrote the history of art for fear of damaging the works.
You're watching France 24 Live. We are interrupting our regular programming to cross for you live to listen to Antony Blinken, who's just starting to speak with the French Foreign Minister here in Paris.
That we love.
Well, you've been listening live there to the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking live here in Paris alongside the French Foreign Minister. This just days before he leaves office and the Trump team takes power in Washington. Gaza, Ukraine, and some of Trump's outlandish comments in recent days among the issues discussed there. Well, Angela Diffley was listening to that press conference with me. And Angela, let's just zoom out a little bit, shall we, and look at what we saw there, which was sort of rather traditional diplomacy, wasn't it, going on compared to what we suspect is to come when, as I say, Donald Trump and his team takes power again in Washington.
A year or two ago.
Well, we will see what happens when Trump makes his return to power in a couple of weeks. More outlandish statements to come, we suspect. But thank you very much for your analysis. Angela Diffley for us there. Well, let's bring you some more news on the programme now. And more than 30,000 people have been forced to flee their homes in Los Angeles amid fast-moving wildfires. Within the past hour, an official from the fire department there has announced that at least 2 people have lost their lives, and there are significant injuries as well. Delano D'Souza has this report. You've been watching Around the World with me, Nadia Massih. Up next here on France 24, it's Access Asia with Yuka Roye.
Welcome to Access Asia and a very happy new year to all of you. Coming up in this first new edition of 2025. Relatives of the 179 victims killed in South Korea's worst air disaster are still waiting for answers as investigators search for more clues as to what caused Jeju Air's passenger jet to go up in flames. 4 decades since a gas leak killed more than 15,000 people at a pesticide factory in Bhopal, India, authorities say the last remaining toxic waste has been removed from the site. And move over Master Pin Xiaopo. In Nepal, it's not a panda but a group of nuns that are wowing people with the art of kung fu. Authorities have lifted Jeju Air's Boeing 737-800, the only recognizable part of the aircraft, from wreckage in Muan, South Korea. And that's all for this edition of Access Asia. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned if you can. There's more world news coming up here on France 24.
Once upon a time in the Amazon, gas, banks and villagers.
Querido Perú, desde hace 20 años, el gas de camisea está presente en la vida de millones de peruanos.
On a là un cas flagrant de greenwashing qui devrait nous alerter sur ce que font les banques de notre argent déjà.
Huele a hidrocarburo. Le drenan y lo que consume, ¿no? Fuente de agua para familias.
El río de la desolación. Ahí está viniendo más gas.
No podíamos remar porque el oxígeno que podíamos respirar estaba muy cargado, ¿no? Con gas. Todos pensábamos morir, todos.
Reporters on France 24 and France24.com.